we want to program the calculator in order to do quadratic formula and few other things, that example that we just went over. So let's start programming. Press program button. And then you have nothing. I already have this thing programmed, but scroll to the right and new and enter. Create new. I have to zoom out a little bit so I can press enter button. It's not letting me enter button. Oh, that's too much. About there. Okay, enter. Okay, now don't you notice that alpha key is flashing, so don't press this key here. You just need to name your program, and let's name it quad. Now my fonts are too small, I cannot see it. This is the hardest part. Somebody tell me where Q is. Is it 7?
Q is 9.
Q is 9. Okay, Q. Where's U?
5.
7? 5?
5.
5. A is here, right? Oh, I can't see. A is this one. A. Where's D? Right there.
Right.
Okay, this is the hardest part, naming the program. There's a rule about naming within this machine. You can only use 8 characters and that's it. So name it wisely, and name of the program has to be meaningful so you can later recognize it. Don't name it Pikachu or something cute like that, because when you have dozen programs, you're not going to know what Pikachu was. Okay, enter. Okay, now I'm going to recreate all of this. Okay, so I'm going to delete everything. Clear. Okay. This is where you are now, right? Okay. Now, what is the basic of all programs? All programs must have these two things. What are they?
Variable.
Even before variable, like these, without these two, this app program is an app, right? App is useless without these two.
Input, output?
Yes, of course, right? It has to, you have to put something in, and then it has to spit something out, right? Without it, like, it doesn't do anything. Machines are really, really dumb. It only does what you told it to, okay? So input, output, that's the very first thing you do. Press program button, right? Program. And this is command button, and we'll get to most of this later, but scroll right to input output. Input is a lot more difficult. You have to type in, so like where this is the best input because you're the only user. Prompt. You want your app to prompt you for the input. Okay, so press that. Okay, quadratic formula needs 3 different letters, right? And they are A, B, and C. Now we have to press alpha because we are no longer in alpha lock. Alpha A, right? Comma. You located comma. Here's comma. And then alpha B, B, and comma, then alpha C. Did I do G? Okay, all dice. Back up. Alpha C. Okay, enter. Now, every line must start with a colon. That means a new line of command, okay? Sometimes this thing wraps around and goes to the next line. Without the colon, it still does not mean it's a new line, so you have to be careful. You have to start every line with a colon. Okay, different programs have different requirements, syntax they call it, but this one does require colon. Okay, you guys remember quadratic formula? Yeah. Can you write it with a parenthesis sideways? Because fraction does not work in here. So open parenthesis, and this is why the math teachers don't like slash. Some of you are still losing points for using slash, right? You'll see why slash is bad. Negative b, I need to move it up just a little bit. So negative b, what did I do? Okay, hold on, it's autosave, so I'll come back. Now this time, later when you want to edit your program, you do edit, okay? So I'm back. Negative B, my B is AB, this one, right? Negative B, and plus or minus. How do you do plus or minus? There are two schools of thought. You have to enter two equations, one with a plus and the other with a minus. But that's like, inconvenient, right? There is a way to do plus or minus. You first need a plus sign and brace, also known as set bracket. Second, open parenthesis. This is not a parenthesis, this is a set bracket, brace, do that. 1, comma, -1. And now you should know better, negative sign is not same as minus sign on this machine. So this is negative sign and that's a negative sign. You get it? Close brace, close set bracket. You with me? Those of you who are taking comp sci, what do they call this thing? Have you heard the term array? It's literally a set. You can store two different informations into this one set, okay? So those of you who are not taking comp sci, it's a set for us, okay? That will serve as a plus or minus. Okay, now then followed by square root. B squared minus 4AC. Okay, so B squared, that's squared, right? Yeah, minus, and you don't have to, oh yeah, 4, you don't have to put multiplication symbols, just 4AC will do. Okay, now how many parentheses do we have to close? This one to match that one, and then we have to close another one to match this one. So far so good? Divide. And then this is the most common mistake. Don't do this yet. Somebody point out what's wrong with this. This is why slash is bad.
You need parentheses.
Yeah. If you do it like this machine is going to divide this whole thing by 2, then multiply a to the numerator. You get it? This is why math teachers hate slashes and take off points. Some of you are losing points because of this issue. So you need a parenthesis here. Boy. Back up. This is how you do insert something in case you forgot. You need to open parenthesis, and of course, number of open parentheses has to be matched by close parenthesis. Very good. Do you see any mistake? Yeah, I think you're good. Enter. Oh, before you enter, if you do this and finish it, this is what your program is going to do. It will compute the values using quadratic formula, and it will not tell you about it. It's not going to even remember what it computed. It's just it. You cannot let that happen, so you have to let it remember, right? So this is how you do remembering. Store. Have you located the store button? Store. And now usually we use regular letters A, B, C, D, E, and don't use A, B, C because you're using A, B, C here. And don't use X and Y, those are variables. So whenever you graph anything, this machine takes over those two to compute the points to graph. However, this is a set. So set only needs to be stored in sets. And we have few sets provided. Second, number 1, L1 is a set. You can put a lot of information into these L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. We have few. Good. Okay. Enter. One last thing left. What's missing?
Output.
Output, right? If you just leave it, it'll compute and remember and not tell you about it. Literally, this thing there's no intuition in computers. It'll only do what you tell it to do. I know it's like very frustrating thing. So output, time for output, okay? Program button. Input, output, scroll right. Display. Display is a good output because it doesn't come with a printer, right? So this is the only way it can give you output. It'll display on the screen. Display. Guess what we are displaying? What are we displaying here? What do you want this to display?
L1.
L1.
L1, right? Whatever the set that we remember. Shall we test it? Yeah, okay. Quit. This is an autosave. Okay, we'll test it with this function, or this equation. X squared minus x minus 2 is equal to 0. Right? You agree? Too much algebra? Okay, we'll test it with this thingy. So, next rule on programming, you always test your program. Even if you think you're good, don't get cocky. You test it with something that you already know the answer to. Okay, let's test it. Program. Now execute. You execute your new program quad. You get it? Execute. Okay, press enter one more time. A. What's A? 1. B. B is -1, not using minus sign, -1. You with me? C. -2. With me? Enter. How nice is that? Now we know this thing works, so we'll go back to our problem. Remember, this problem is what we are originally set out to do, right? Y is equal to 0. We are setting this y equal to 0. You get it? Let's solve this and see if we get this answer now, right? You don't have to go to program. If you just press the enter button, it repeats the previous command. So enter. A is 1/2 G. G is 9.8. So is it -4.9? Like that? Good. Enter. B is 30, C is 10. Ready? Oh, 10. God, I was going for drama. Ready? Bang. Okay, 6. We cannot see the second one. How do we display the second one? Watch this. Remember, we stored this thing into L1, right? L1. If you just press this, it gives you the same thing, so that's no good. So let's do it this way. L1, open parenthesis, 2. This command means display the second element of this set. You get it? There's your answer. With the 14 glorious digits. Okay. Now we have to plug this thing back into this equation, right? You know how to do this without losing any digits, right? But just to show you the power of this thing, I'm going to store this thing. This is a very good habit. Store it into, what do you want to store it into? Any letter will do other than whatever we just used. Let's just call it D, right? D. So D, as at the moment, is this. Now I'm going to plug it here, right? So we have 30 minus G, which is 9.8, and then D. I know you know the second answer, but in case we have something complicated, storing along the way, and that's this answer right there. You get it? This, with a great power, also comes great responsibility. Use it wisely. So don't be wasting your time in the middle of the test, in case it's a calculator test or physics test or any test, by doing quadratic formula.